Podcasting. Anyone ever thought about having a podcast? Where do I start? Where do I begin? Here's a tip for you, something that I use, Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It is absolutely free, and they provide all the creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your computer, phone, tablet, whatever device you have. It is super convenient, and Anchor will even distribute your podcast for you. Your podcast can be on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Grow your listeners and get as many people as possible to listen to your podcast. Everything you need to make a podcast all in one place. Download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started today. Let's do it.
Shows are individually owned and opinions expressed may not reflect others. Welcome to the Edventures in Tech podcast. Talking the latest tips and trends in educational technology to innovate and engage your students. Here are your hosts, Andrew and Dan.
Hello, once again, welcome to the Adventures in Tech podcast. This is episode number 14. I'm one of your co-hosts. My name is Andrew.
And my name is Dan.
And we are super excited that you have joined us on this journey of the Adventures in Tech. And if you like the content, please, again, help us out by providing feedback and a rating on wherever you download your podcast from. We greatly appreciate your support. Dan and I are always excited with all kinds of things, and I can say we are super excited about this episode because we have an interview coming up with a fantastic guest. That being said, we do want to go right into the weekly windup and not take away too much time. But, Dan, what's going on in classrooms? Anything crazy going on?
It's always something crazy going on.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing.
It is a good thing. You know, the classrooms are really, it's just really busy.
I love it.
Working with a lot of joint projects, PBL things, really working with high school and elementary, them collaborating together, and it just reinforces to me why I love technology integration.
Absolutely.
This whole podcast is about adventures in tech, and there's such a great library of tools out there that just make things that are possible that were not possible before. You know, technology in the curriculum is not about, a standalone show me something that you can do.
One time, right?
One time. It's just, if you weave it into the process, it can open up so many doors, create so many opportunities. And like we've said before, it engages the students. If you have a good lesson plan, then you don't have to worry about classroom management.
That's the biggest thing.
And being able to use technology in a meaningful way to create experiences for students is great. So you asked what's going on in the classroom. It's actually creating an awesome blended environment that sparks creativity, collaboration, and authentic assessment.
Yeah, the student engagement, as we say time and time over again, is so important in, making sure the students stay engaged. And I can't really summarize, any better than what Dan had just said. We've had some great things over the past week with using makey-makeys once again in the classroom. That was a lot of fun. We got green screen with first graders coming up. We got the dash and coding and robots coming up. So lots of things that are happening in the classroom. And I know we talked about it a lot. We're finally on to the podcasting with number talks.
Yeah, I'm really excited about
with the math, with the students, and then also in an ELA classroom. So many things going on, and we say crazy, but we love that it's so busy because it just makes things so fun. Learning is fun for these students, and like we said, they are just very much engaged. So that's awesome.
And it's also fun for the teachers. I mean, we just finished up wrapping up an opening slide deck for some first graders tomorrow.
Yep.
And we were laughing and having fun the whole time we were making it.
That's it.
Because we created something. We had a vision. We didn't go out there to someplace online and look for something that was already out there. We were able to build something using some really valuable tools that are available to anyone.
Yeah. So that being said, we do want to dive into the weekly windup. Not a ton of news that we want to cover, kind of keeping it short and sweet this week, but there is an article that we talked about with expanding into early childhood and is it good for ed tech companies. And the exciting thing is we talk often about Kahoot, and Kahoot is actually expanding and launching a product designed specifically for children ages 2 through 7. So we talk about Kahoot, and we use it a lot. It's in a lot of classrooms, across the district. But now they're really honing the product to really hit those younger ages, preschool, universal pre-K kind of age kids, and then obviously K1, 2 for that 5 through 7 age. And I think it's going to be an excellent product. I mean, listen, the apps, the features, the thing that I'm most excited about is how it's going to tailor to the tykes or to those students and really touch base on their social emotional and really give them the foundational skills, with math and SEL and reading, and just kind of, introduce them. So when they do get to grade school and primary, intermediate, all the way up, they have more of a foundation already built that will allow them to do so much more with the technology in the classrooms. Absolutely.
And, you look at the ed tech companies and these products being tailored for early childhood. It's really important that we consider the use and the balance of any technology with the early childhood. I mean, and some of these products out there are designed and tailored to short experiences with students interacting with technology. So they're actually creating something, involving themselves in them for short periods. So it's not giving them that glazed over, tuned out effect of a droning watching. And so they're actually creating something. So I think managing it effectively, putting it into your instructional design and having it a part of these early childhood centers is good. And it also provides them with the digital skills that they're going to need as they move up through their K-12 experience.
That's the key. We're not saying use tech or use a device just to use it. That's not our mantra here at all. It's got to be valuable for the students, for the the teacher itself, and make sure that model is going to work across all sectors that you're utilizing it in. So,
right. And I just want to add, when we're dealing it not only with early childhood, or any grade level with technology, there's a big difference between an active learning experience versus that glazed over look that kids get when they're just not involved with what's happening.
We'll post the article in the show notes so you can check out the new app version that's getting launched by Kahoot. We do want to say NYSCATE, the 2022 NYSCATE grant application is open. The deadline is April 30th of 2022. So each year, if you're not familiar, NYSCATE members are able to apply for a grant for projects, consistent with the NYSCATE mission statement that supports New York content and instructional technology standards and the ISTE standards. So anybody from, pre-K through 12 and higher ed faculty, anybody with teacher preparation, they are able to submit a proposal, and all of those grant applications are due by midnight on April 30th. And the awardees will be announced in June and July. And then obviously you do get recognized at the NYSCATE annual conference held typically in November. So that's exciting.
That is.
Lastly, the one other thing we want to touch on that I kind of forgot about Autodraw.
I know. And then when you put it into our planning calendar, I started playing with it and I forgot all about how much fun this is. Fun.
Yeah. It's a lot of fun, and for the students, and sometimes
I wish you could see my computer screen right now.
there's that fear, like some kids are like, I'm not good at my artistic abilities are not what I want them to be, and some students just they thrive at it. So the Autodraw allows them to kind of draw the picture or draw what they want to draw, and then you're able to just automatically transform it into a clip art. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times we spend so much time as educators trying to find that perfect piece of clip art, searching Google and making sure there's no background and everything, when you can simply just use Autodraw, draw what you want, and kind of transform it automatically into that clip art that you want in the color you want as well.
And piggybacking off of our last podcast on sketchnoting, you're looking for that sketchnoting platform.
Yep.
Autodraw is it. And you can put in text along with your pictures, and the AI in this is amazing. I just used freehand with a mouse to try and draw a boat, and all of a sudden it said, "Hey, are you trying to draw a boat?"
Yeah,
Here's
so
about
smart.
32 images of boats.
And then you get to choose it. So instead of Googling all of the images you want to get, now you just use Autodraw, and it kind of uses the AI to kind of say, okay, you're drawing a boat, and that's what you want. And I think that is a perfect segue. We're going to talk about the Mote boat.
The Mote boat. Why do you think I drew a boat?
To get on board.
That's it.
So let's get to our special guest. This is Jon Neal, our VP of Education from Mote.com. You can find him on Twitter at JustMoteHQ. And we're going to talk about how everybody can join the Mote boat, right? That's the big saying we say. And if I look correctly, and my numbers may not be 100% accurate, John, please feel free to correct me, but there's 30,237,210 motes created to date.
There are definitely a lot of voice notes that have been created using Mote. I don't unfortunately have a running tally in my office, but it's definitely in the tens of millions, and we're really, really excited with the amount of voice notes. Not only the voice notes that have been created, but the positive impact that that's had in classrooms and at homes and for learning across the world.
Yeah, perfect. So tell us a little background about yourself. We know you were a former educator before you went into, the Mote world and everything. So, and not only about yourself, but what Mote is for our listeners and how it started, like the brainchild, everything like that.
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me on. It was a real pleasure to meet with you both up in Rochester in the tail end of 2021 at the NiceGate conference. And in terms of myself, so cutting a long story as short as I possibly can, was an accountant, didn't particularly like that. That wasn't for me. Saw an advert about teaching, always passionate about sport, and started as a phys ed teacher. Over the years, I taught economics, computer science, design, bit of business, some maths, and found my way to gravitating toward digital learning in about 2014. I was one of the scenario that did it for me was I was stuck in a spreadsheet that I couldn't edit because a colleague of mine was on it, and I ended up hearing about Google Sheets. And then ever since then, I've been a huge advocate of all things Google for EDU. Along the way, been privileged to become a Google Innovator, Google Trainer, Apple Distinguished Educator, and most recently, I've actually joined ISTE's International Advisory Board. And that sort of all culminated in a move away from the classroom and away from school leadership back at in the sort of spring of 2021, when I had already connected with Will Jackson, the CEO of Mote, and I'd made a couple of videos and done one or two other things for them, and the timing was right for all parties. And after lots of sort of chats about the future of Mote and the future of education and the role that Mote would have to play, it was my privilege to join them as the VP of Education, as I say, back then. And to your question and to the point about what is Mote, we are a all-in-one audio toolkit that allows for as seamless as possible integration of voice throughout Google's ecosystem. So whether you're using it for feedback in Google Classroom, or maybe you want to add some creativity to a slide deck or some accessibility into Google Forms, you name it, the Google product, and we are doing our best to be supporting both teachers and learners and the wider school community in how they might go about leveraging the power of voice.
Awesome.
Thank you. Yeah, I would have to say, it's funny how we all approach and get into the positions that we're at. I started, talking about me and my world into technology. It's kind of, you get there out of necessity and you figure out what works. I started out teaching in New York City, and when like the first smart boards came out and all that, and they put me in a classroom with like a laptop cart, and they said, all right, you're the showcase classroom, now figure it out. But it's amazing, like when you have that education experience and you're looking at ways to reach your students, it takes you to the tools that will work best in that instructional design. So thank you for sharing that. That definitely helps us out.
So a follow-up question I had is, we know that Mote's all within your Chrome extensions, right? That's the main thing, as we live in the Google ecosystem, like you were mentioning. And now it's coming on iOS. Is that correct?
That is right, yeah. So we have an iOS app. We have an iOS app that is primarily targeted towards, in its first instance, towards teacher usage. So we had one or two issues in terms of the way that all things iOS and Apple work. We had some issues in terms of getting the audio recorder to embed within the keyboard itself. So there's a little bit of a workaround, but it does still function as a tool to be able to record your audio. And I think possibly the most positive outcome of that is just a real intent for us to be able to support people that aren't necessarily using the Chrome browser. So for example, both iOS and Android, but how we might look in the future to be able to have a fully functional web-based recorder.
That's fantastic, because we know the power of audio, and we're going to talk about that in a few minutes. But This is just the most simplistic and easy way. And I think we can all feel your pain when you were saying how, oh, I'm on a spreadsheet and someone else is editing it, and you get that. We won't mention that company that we're talking about, that spreadsheet, but oh, it's locked because somebody else is editing it. And now, you talk about how the Google ecosystem has just completely revolutionized in the collaboration, perspective. I mean, Dan and I are always collaborating on things at the same time. So it really, is so powerful. And now with the Mote integrations, not only being classroom and slides, docs, sheets, forms, which is such, it's so powerful. And then Gmail and any web page. So, the power of Mote, I'm on the Mote boat. I'm going to steer it.
All aboard.
All aboard the Mote boat.
I don't know. You might have steered yourself into an iceberg.
Nah.
But, we have to say that, as far as our position goes as technology integration specialists and offering PD, Mote has become essential in us communicating with the participants in our classes, because a lot of what we've done, and we moved our PD to all online, and then a lot of it being asynchronous, and talking about the power of audio feedback, Mote has made it really easy to offer feedback and continue a conversation with our participants without having to meet live face to face. So, talking about the power of audio, I think it goes, there's the convenience factor of it, but I think there's more to it than just the convenience in terms of offering effective feedback.
Yeah, and I think that just to piggyback on that, I think that one of the reasons that the Mote has really exploded in its popularity is, just as we know, there are some wonderful text to voice tools. So it's very like Microsoft's Immersive Reader, for example, is a wonderful tool. But our feedback almost unanimously states that whilst that's fine, and whilst that obviously is great for accessibility, when you hear a known and trusted voice and you can hear the intonation of that person and you can picture in your mind's eye the way that they engage with you in another context, or perhaps you've only seen them on a video call, but you can still tie that voice, and therefore whatever they're saying as feedback back to that person, it becomes all the more engaging and all the more possible for you to act on that in a way that is as was intended, and to not misinterpret that.
Yeah. And, talking about misinterpretation and things getting misconstrued, there's often times that things can be typed in an email or a text message where we've all experienced being like, what are they talking about? Or maybe we're, feeling a little taken back by what was said. When you're, using the power of the voice, it really gets the point across where, and not even just for colleagues, across, the district and, the world, but even just to our students, it's so much more powerful. And when we talk about technology and the power of voice with Mote, I mean, think about how important is it now in this realm of education that we are in. And like you said, Mote has exploded. So how do we, harness that power, and where are we going with that, with that you see, John?
Yeah, so in terms of voice, I think that I've been a huge advocate of voice sort of pre my time at Mote. I think that, for the reasons that we just discussed, I think that in terms of Mote's own impact, that we will always seek to be trying to build connection. I think with human connection at our heart, and listening to the community, not I should say listening to the voice notes that are left during Mote, but like hearing those voices that take the time to connect with us through support channels or through social media, trying to be as responsive as possible and trying to understand that there is still a lot more that we can do with voice to aid that community that we're serving. For example, one of the things that we launched slightly into this academic year, so it was kind of September, October time, we launched audio QR codes. That's been a big win for praise postcards being sent home, perhaps to members of your school community that wouldn't be able to engage as much as they would like with a written message. When they can hear the teacher's voice singing the praises of their child, it's another level. And we've also seen that same use case. For example, one of our ambassadors has this wonderful idea called notes of audio affirmation. So they are the kind of thing that you would typically find in like a school bathroom, or maybe the sort of quieter parts of the school where a student could read to sort of collect themselves and then to get on with the day. And one of the other things that she was using voice for in this particular context was those students that she had a really strong relationship with and that she knew were dependent on that relationship when they came to school. She actually gave them little cards that they were able, personalized cards that they were able to carry around with them. So anytime they could quickly see her face on the card, they could scan the code and they could listen to that really assuring, as I say, trusted voice.
I love that idea. That you just mentioned about the, the positive. You talk about connecting to the community and, with the families at large. We get bogged up with the day-to-day of everything that we need to do, and making the phone calls and trying to connect with the parent just for that positive message, that postcard, that's gonna go in my toolbox right there for teachers.
Oh, great.
Absolutely. And we think about how much we have to really help with the SEL component with our students, especially with everything that's been going on the last few years. And it's often difficult to be able to check in on a regular basis, but having that personalized voice that can speak to a student is great. That's such a fantastic idea. Thanks for sharing that.
No, of course. It wasn't my idea. It was from our community, but happy to share it.
You can take credit for it, John. Come on. So let's talk, inspiration. So we know that the Mote boat is growing, right? We know it's 30 million plus. So what inspires you and the Mote community as we start to look, at the future of education? What's the inspiration?
Yeah, well, I think that it isn't purely numbers, that we're not looking like it's great to hear about those millions of motes. And I don't know if you saw, we were named to one of Google Chrome editors picks for 2021, which was a huge achievement because that wasn't something that we even knew about, to be perfectly honest, until we got the message through. It came through to Will, who's our CEO. And I think that one of the things that we always try to do is to remember that the reason that Mote came about was actually very simple. So the two founders, Alex and Will, were using Google, and they wanted to have a way that they could asynchronously collaborate, but collaborate in a way that was connecting them more than just a typed comment. And this was on their mind at the end of 2019, and it just so happened that they were ready to launch in March of 2020. So I was one of the first educators to spot it and to jump aboard the Mote boat, but it wasn't planned on being a edtech tool per se. But the way that it's been adopted and the way that the engineers now really embrace the idea of, that this might not have been the plan on day one, but we've been able to sort of pivot a bit and, through our Mote certified educator, through the Mote ambassador program, through the connections that we make at the conferences that we're now blessed to be able to attend actually in person, which is quite incredible. It's quite hard to know exactly where we're going to go next, but just to reassure everyone that we, as much as is possible, we try to make sure every feature, every iteration on the actual product is based upon feedback that we've got from the community and trying to solve actual problems that are there for not only educators, not only for students, but for everyone involved in the community of learning, because it isn't just one or two people involved with that. So I think that's where we would say that we kind of pin our flag.
Yeah, and I think educators are going to appreciate that, because you're taking what, as you start to, the iterations of the product evolve, you're taking what they need into consideration to make the product better for usage in the future.
Yeah, and a huge gratitude, I should say, to all the teachers that do share ideas with us. We've actually got a request platform, and that is reviewed every single day by everyone on the team, just to make sure that if there's anything, it's got like a thumbs up functionality. So if we notice or if we get notified that there are one or two features that are bubbling their way to the top, then those are, given a higher priority than perhaps otherwise. So just, would continue to encourage people to engage with that platform.
That's great. And I have to say, one of those features that came out, fairly recently are hypermotes, which I think is a real game changer. So I don't know if you want to talk about hypermotes a little bit.
Yeah, so I think that one of the reasons that Hypermotes was such a big win, and it was actually just launched after the NiceGate conference, which was a shame, but Yeah, the idea being is that with Mote up until November 2021, you were able to embed your voice notes into a Google comment. And for those people that might not have used Mote, that basically gave a really nice experience where the audio card would actually play back from within a traditional Google comment box. We did hear that sometimes, and I've been in this situation myself, comments were accidentally and sometimes deliberately closed down a little bit prematurely. So we wanted to go about solving that in a way that would actually have a greater impact. And one of our biggest feature wins has been the embedding audio into Google Slides. So we were thinking like it'd be really good to have a similar piece of functionality available to users of Google Docs. So that's where Hypermotes came about. So the way that it works for anyone that may not have seen it is basically you can highlight any element in a Google Doc. So be it text, an image, or otherwise, maybe it's a table. And then you can then very easily creating a hypermote. What it does is it puts a hyperlink onto that particular element. And then when you click on it, rather than taking you to an external web page, what it would do is it will pop an audio card, pop a voice note right up there where you click in the body of the Google Doc. And one of the biggest wins and one of the things I'm most excited about for that is knowing how that would be, just as you say, a game changer for teachers using, for example, Google Classroom. They want to make a copy for each student, and then they can do that with one voice note that's just going to be there in the instructions. Great for accessibility, great for engagement, and those can only be really wonderful things to happen.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
And especially if we look at, just on the one end, like the effectiveness of feedback, the feedback is purposeful and it's targeted towards learning goals, and really put right there, that hypermote allows the teacher to really get in and identify different areas and offer that effective feedback. So that's a great feature.
Yeah.
And the efficiency component of it, it's so quick and easy. That's, we always look to be efficient, effectiveness, yes, but efficient with quick and time. It's so simple.
Yeah.
And that, I think that's the real power of Mote, is the simplicity of you. Now, I know from your end, there's a lot that goes on to make all that seamlessness happen. I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
But as an educator, to have that voice platform wherever I need it, where I don't have to jump through hoops and have different links and do whatever it needs to do or open up in a separate program, allows me to be a creator and create these experiences for students. So what's nice is what you look at just as a simple voice recording can then be utilized in so many different ways to spark creativity and collaboration and design thinking and PBL projects in the classroom. It just really thinking outside the box with voice and the ease of Mote makes things amazing as an educator, and then also probably as a learner as well.
Yeah. And I would say that those things that you just mentioned are so close to my heart. I think that's what education is all about. That's probably one for another podcast, but the idea of, really empowering everyone to be creators, to be able to collaborate, to be able to connect with the wider world. I think that those are really just beautiful things for us all to learn and for us all to be to be working on, and to be able to play a small part in that really does mean a lot to me, and I know it means a lot to the rest of the team at Mote as well.
So I want to talk about the 3 different Mote options. We know there's a district level platform, with pricing for users of an entire district. Dan and I had the conversation, we always talk about free 99 on the podcast. And for those who are starting out, to see how valuable of a tool that Mote can be in providing feedback, in the classroom, it's free. They get 20 per month and 30-second recording time. It's integrated, simple through Chrome. So that's great. Dan and I had a conversation with, 180 seconds recording time in the unlimited part, right? And the voice to text, and you can save and reuse Motes, for $39 a year. That is phenomenal. It really is.
Yeah, and do you know what? Like, for anyone that was using Mote before January 2022, we're well aware that the free version used to be entirely unlimited in terms of the amount of Motes that you're able to create. The reason that we settled upon 20 is, believe it or not, the vast majority, and I mean like the vast majority of people, were creating less than 20 motes per month. Those creating more than 20 per month on a free version were typically in the hundreds. So we were trying to strike the right balance in a way that was really recognizing the need for it to still be affordable, for the free tier to still mean something, but also to be able to work together in our own team and to be able to continue to serve in a way that if we wouldn't have made one or two tweaks would have been really hard for us to do. But some of those features that you just mentioned with the unlimited tier, so we have the Mote book, which is a little bit aligned with Google Classroom's when you can use the comment bank. The benefit of Notebook being is you can use it anywhere, not just within Classroom. And then for example, English language learners or for people in a world language classroom, we've heard huge thanks with the possibility of not only using the voice to text transcription for English speakers, but for speakers of any other language. So it's a really nice way, for example, for someone in a Spanish classroom to test their Spanish, or for someone who's a Spanish speaker to be able to benefit from all of the same features. And as you say, we have a vastly increased recording time. It's important to say as well that we obviously have the individual pricing, which, as you say, is $39. So that represents, I don't know the price of coffee in America, but I imagine that it's not entirely departed from that, the cost per month. And then we also have the school and district-wide pricing, which represents about 97% discount on that per seat when you're looking to buy at a slightly larger scale.
Wow. That's great. Yeah, I mean, it is. And again, we see the value in it, and that's what's really beneficial. Like, Dan and I have our discussions. This is just such a powerful tool in your toolbox to use for, on a daily basis that, it is worth the pricing in that component.
Yeah,
absolutely. I mean, for $39 for a year, I think about all the time that I save working and offering feedback and creating is well worth it. And then I think it also, for me as an educator, the ability to use Mote for that personalized audio feedback makes me feel like I'm communicating better with the students.
Right. Yeah.
It's increasing my efficacy as a teacher because I can really put into words. They can hear, like you mentioned earlier, hear your intonation, pinpoint something specific, allow them to elaborate on it. And then seeing that, the students, and that's another thing that you can see if the student engaged in the Mote. So that feedback is not just sitting out there. Because I'll be honest, a lot of times if I'm giving written feedback or putting something on there, that's completely ignored. The student's looking at a grade or looking at something and tossing it aside. But that audio and putting it in there and they listen to it, there's then there provides the opportunity for the student to reflect, to go back and revisit and then demonstrate their understanding in a new way because they hear my feedback and questions directly.
Yeah. Amazing.
It
sounds like a great tool.
I know. Who came up with this idea?
Yeah.
So I know we're going to start to wrap up. We're very appreciative of your time, Jon. So is there anything that you see on the horizon for Mote that may be coming, for the next academic year that you can kind of tell us, or is it all hush-hush?
So no, I think that we are, as I say, the request page is definitely a good place to go. We listen very, very much to what our community and to what our teachers are saying is a need and is a pain point for them. We also are kind of really keen on being able to integrate voice a little bit better outside of Google. So, for example, there are some wonderful tools out there, the likes of Wakelet, who we would really benefit from being able to have some way to more easily integrate into platforms like that, or perhaps even a Google Sites. Who knows?
That's great.
Well, I like that you mentioned Wakelet. That's another one of our favorite tools.
It's a great tool. And do you know what as well? Like from my previous role, like when I was a digital learning leader based in London, I know that it isn't only Mote out there that's really trying to build community and support teachers. I mean, we could spend ages listing all those companies that really value their community, that value educators, and also put learning at the heart of all that they do. So being at the conferences and being able to connect with some of the teams from other companies has been a real privilege.
Jon, where are you located now?
I am in a town called Southampton, which is on the south coast of England. I'm about an hour south of London.
Awesome.
Oh, wow.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. And, we would have loved to have joined you at FETC, but unfortunately we were not able to get away from the cold weather here in New York. But Dan, you have any final thoughts for Jon?
Just thank you for, agreeing to spend some time with us and talk to us about Mote, and really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you both so much for having me on. And I'm sure as well that we can put into your show notes when you share this out. I'm sure we can put a little bit of an unlimited gift for the listeners of the podcast. So
they're going to love it.
We'll make sure
that's
that
very appreciated. Thank you so much.
Jon, thank you again. We appreciate it. We look forward to connecting with you at future conferences. We're definitely going to see you at NICE-Gate, coming up in November. Let's have some Kool-Aids and some good food somewhere, maybe some dinosaur barbecue, and we'll talk to you soon.
That sounds great. Thank you both so much. Goodbye
Thank
for now.
Jon. Bye-bye now.
Wow, what an interview with Jon. Truly appreciative of his time, right, Dan?
Absolutely.
That was great.
Yeah, I'm so glad we had the opportunity to have him on the podcast.
Yeah, so once again, thank you all for your support, listening on all the platforms, leaving us a review. If you have any questions, comments, suggestions, please reach out. Tech hard, work smart, live in adventure.
Find Andrew on all socials at @ANicolaTech and Dan at WCSD Tech DR.